and then we'll go from there. Okay, so this is the 12th meeting of the incremental compilation working group. Wesley unfortunately cannot attend. David has been so kind as to at least get us started with an agenda that's linked from the Zulip channel. And with that, let's just do a quick round of status reports. I've done almost nothing related to this working group, and I have been doing things related to the compiler team as a whole, which I think will relate to the working group, but we'll talk about that more, I think, after we go through status stuff. So let's just go around and see how everyone else is doing.
Sure.
David?
I haven't done anything.
Okay, and you, Santiago?
I'm still waiting on feedback about the Dwarf.
I was for.
Still waiting for feedback about Split Dwarf. We understand. Okay, yeah.
Right.
And then Santiago?
I think I was fortunate enough that I was working on a trades on a trades PR and ended like impacting some stuff on incremental compilation, but I haven't been doing anything specifically about incremental compilation. Basically, okay. I was looking for a task or something, just re-joining.
Yep. By the way, I suspect this is a holdover from whatever previous agenda was there. I do want to mention, like, there's an issue with the way the dates are formatted. This is striking me because we had a thing at my job where people were like going off about date formatting and stuff. You know how like 9/2 is ambiguous about whether it denotes September 9th or February 9th, or September 2nd or February 9th.
I've just done it. That's the UK way of doing it, so I'll just put it backwards.
I'd say, I mean, I think the answer here is to not use numbers for the months. Instead, use 3-letter, Jan, Feb, Mar, because then it's unambiguous what you're talking about, I think. But anyway, let's quickly run through the items then that are on here just to make sure we review them and to keep track of them. So we've got 79560, the diesel crate thing, and yeah, we're still talking about trying to add diesel to the CI, but I haven't done anything there yet, despite saying I would. But your pull request lands, Santiago, so that's good, right?
This is what I was saying, that I was fortunate enough to land a PR that had nothing to do with incremental compilation, but
right, but somehow ends up relevant in some way.
Ended looking like I did something for the group.
Right. So we got the Split Dwarf PR, and I know that so I know, David, you've been asking for feedback here. I think the heart of this is that we don't typically have time to dig into something like this, and the question is it worthy of like a design meeting or something? We got to figure out some way to make progress here. David, do you have any, like, I guess you've written down the pros and cons, but like, do you feel like you have like enough info to like even just propose one of the options you've given, and then we'll just like FCP that, like to try to force people to actually weigh in instead of this open-ended like looking for feedback? Or is there at least I guess that's the question. Like we're back to sort of wondering who the stakeholders here are, which is a broader issue with our debug info system that I'm hoping we'll actually see progress on, because I think there's a lot of parties, companies that are very interested in, like, that know there's problems here and want to invest in fixing it. So I suspect if we don't have stakeholders now that are known to us, they're going to be known soonish. That's my way of saying, like, even though you're not getting feedback right now, I think you might see people who say, why was I consulted? If we just take action without, some sort of process.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff now, it's not user facing. It's just how we want to persist the Dwarf information between dependencies to the later compilations.
So it's not going to be user facing in any sense. Like, I mean, obviously the files themselves, the generated files are different, right? In terms of like how where the structure of or is that not even the case? Like in terms of how the Dwarf is represented?
Yeah, so we output Dwarf objects, and when you then link them together in a package, it expects the dwarf objects from dependencies to still exist, and they don't.
Right.
And so the question is, how do we make sure they still exist? Do we put them into the rlib? Do we like other solutions like that? Do we have a flag that
Yeah.
explicitly says to the compiler these
But in
around?
the end, your argument is that in the end, anyone who's
using
using Rust C is going to like, it's going to seem the same to them. It really is truly an internal compiler like architecture issue.
Yeah, it's just how do you want to do this? Like,
I'd say
is there some?
If that's the case, I think we should instead of just waiting on people to get feedback, I'd say we should make an informed decision, or even uninformed decision, and just move forward. Because this is like a real bug that needs to be fixed, and it seems like if it's truly just an internal detail, then even if we make the wrong decision, we can go back and fix it, right?
Sure.
So that's my inclination there. Then, given that we haven't really gotten much forward progress over in the last 19 days. Of asking for feedback on it. Okay, we've got 79519 story here, attributes in a side table. This is an example of something where, like, someone was asking me like how, like, what low hanging fruit do we have for making incremental compilation better? And I was thinking of something like things like this, but I didn't at the time say it's things like this that I'm talking about. So, okay. There's been some progress. Perf has been run. PR has conflicts. And it seems like this basically Wesley's been owning this in terms of reviewing it. So I don't know what else to do there besides just letting it keep moving forward. Hopefully it's moving forward fast enough. That's a lot of commits on here. But I think they're factored well, it seems like, hopefully. Seems like they're probably factored well. Okay.
In the last meeting, it sounded like Wesley's wanted some more experiments with the data type. It doesn't look like that's happened. So I'm assuming that's what it's status on.
Well, the B tree, there was something about changing to a B tree map. Was that at the time of the last meeting? Let's see.
I thought Wesley had mentioned using an index vec in the last meeting.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And so
yes,
I think
you're right.
That's what I was expecting to see, and that's not happened yet.
But was there feedback from Wesley to the author saying that?
I don't think so, but I can't remember.
Okay. You know what then? Wesley's not here, and I don't want to like just say, Wesley do X. Maybe all. Okay. There was some stuff passed about index spec. A thin index spec. I see. There was commentary from Wesley 17 days ago. I think what it was in the meeting is we sort of said we still want to go back and try the thin index spec or something like instead of the B tree map. I think is what the takeaway is there. I'll go back and review the last meeting, which you both got, right? I shared that with you, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. And so I'll add an action for myself to say something here. If I could figure out how to use HackMD. My computer, I'm just so embarrassed. My computer is so pokey and it doesn't make any sense to me. Although maybe it's just, I don't know, that old. Action item. Okay. So the compiler team sprint was that was something I think we really were intending on talking. We did talk about the last meeting. That's why this item is on here. And then in the actual planning meeting for the sprint, we decided to change focus, or basically there was enough feedback saying no, the focus shouldn't be incremental compilation; it should be on memory usage. So that meant we sort of scrapped a fair amount of stuff that we've been thinking about regarding the sprint. In particular, there had been talk about trying to do a survey amongst our users to like get performance profiles of their machines. basically Mark Simulacrum convinced me like that was not a good use of effort right now, because there's enough stuff that we can do internally based on our own like observations of what's bad, that we shouldn't be wasting survey effort, but especially from the people who'd be filling out the survey or doing it on that until we've really taken care of the low-hanging fruit ourselves, which I was convinced by. We should wait to do it until we really need the information. Though I think that we could still benefit from some investment there, maybe, just in terms of having a good process in place. The other thing though is in terms of the actual sprint in March, I still am curious whether like, you know, memory usage is the focus, how much of that could be in our wheelhouse in terms of the memory usage of the incremental compilation structures themselves. I have no idea like what the def map and stuff like that ends up consuming with the runtime profiles. I have never really looked that carefully at the like. I'm aware of the whatever the tool is called, memory profiling. There's a couple different memory profiling tools for Valgrind. But there's one that like Nick Nethercoat was very fond of using, but I can't remember the name of it.
Massive.
Yes, thank you. Massive. Yes, that's right, with an IF at the end. And I don't even recall inspecting like the massive profile for incremental versus non-incremental, but that's the kind of thing where there might be information that's useful there. I'm hoping, or no, I'm more than hoping. I'm actively working on trying to make tooling for also getting instrumentation from within the compiler about memory usage, basically based on some ideas that Eddie B had posted years ago. And so I think that I'm going to try to employ that myself locally as part of my upcoming work. This is all a way of me saying like, I think that we still have stuff to offer that's specific to the sprint. And so it's worthwhile to just keep in the back of your mind, like, you know, what are some things that we could ask? You know, don't worry necessarily about fixing the memory usage issues right now, although you could, but rather like, okay, how would I even like figure out where the problems are and better ways to identify and investigate them. Okay, so that's all I want to say there. And then we have the same issue with issue triage, where I haven't done anything. I don't think we want to do it live right now. Do you all have anything else you want to sort of add to the? Oh, there was one more thing I want to make sure we talked about. Did neither of you were part of the group that said, oh yeah, let's help with the perf RLO website, right? You're both too busy, right? Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'm not expecting your input on that in terms of active work, but I do think that a huge part of the incremental compilation, or sorry, a huge part of the perf site is dedicated to stuff about incremental compilation, for better or for worse. And so again, that kind of falls into our wheelhouse about, I think if you're using perf, assuming you do use perf.rlo, if you could just keep some in the back of your mind, if you could think about, okay, here are the things that actually I found useful and things I haven't found useful, especially with respect to the data regarding incremental compilation, either have them back in your mind or take notes or whatever. I think that it'll be useful to have some sort of feedback there as we go into revising the site, because I personally am very worried about us the current site, I think, is over biased towards incremental compilation data. And I worry about that, meaning that the cases that some people care the most about are underweighted in terms of the presentation of the data. That's all. Anything else that you all want to throw in here?
Nothing for me, not now at most.
So if I were to pick some issue or something, like given that I haven't been around, like was on vacations and all that, do you consider there is an issue, an important issue or something? What would you suggest? I don't know
That's a good question. You mean in terms of like looking at the open ones, probably the simplest thing to do?
I don't know, whatever you consider there is to do, but
yeah, well, we're in a state right now where I was sort of focused on the beta regressions for the past 2 weeks. Okay. So I wasn't really thinking that hard about incremental compilation stuff, because there were some beta regression things that were taking up all of my development time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I think my personal guess is that any of the things in the things tagged with wg-incr-comp could be interesting to look at.
Okay.
And there's a link in the issue triage section of the meeting notes for this.
Right.
And it's just a question of, I think I'd be more, rather than, I mean, if you want to try to talk about identifying the highest profile thing, or the things that might, yield the best benefits, I'm not sure. I think that the idea that looking at things like dropping unused, unreferenced external crates not trivial recompile, that the fact that does trivial recompile is interesting, and might be a sign of like something deeper that needs to be fixed. I don't know. So I don't know if trying to identify the highest bang for buck issue is as important right now versus just like, what do you think you have the best chance of like,
right? Yeah. So just in case, did you say wg-incr-comp or a-incr?
No, I said wg. I mostly say wg because I was like, there's only 7 of them, and so it'll be easier to get through to look them quickly. That was my own bias there in terms of like, okay, if I'm going to say an answer right now, let's look at the short list. Yeah, the other one is too long, and we're still, the process there is we're just trying to triage those.
Right. Yeah. There might be a lot of there
might be great ideas in there. There might be a lot of junk in there. So
yeah, exactly.
If you want to spend time triaging, hey, that's fine too. Yeah, there's lots of possible things that might be interesting here. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. It sounds like we're basically done then. I will. My plan is to take the same approach with this meeting that I took with the last one in terms of putting it up on YouTube and making it unlisted, and then sharing the link with whoever wants it from this working group.
Right.
I'm still debating. Maybe we can go back to a model where we post the meetings openly. Again, just because I'm not sure that the reasoning that I had for making the meetings unlisted, I'm not sure it's going to bear fruit in terms of like why, right? The people that I was trying to get involved. So
like I think one important input that you need is that for instance, for me, I don't have any problem if you want to like publicly share the thing.
You're not the problem. Because, I know that, Santiago.
but if like, I guess if we all around are okay, I don't know what would be the issue, but
yeah, I mean, if you two don't care about me putting it up online, then I'll just put it. Then I'll just post this one online and say, hey, we're back doing this online again, and wait until there's demand to make it unlisted again or whatever. Does that sound fine with you two?
Fine with me, yeah.
All right, because to me, if nothing else, it makes me less stressed about the link. Like, trying to protect the link. Like saying it's going to be public means I can do things like put the link in the chat room and not worry about it. Okay, sounds good. Thanks you two. Talk to you later. Bye.